This video is about arrays and objects in JavaScript. Now, David, you may say, arrays are objects, and that's technically true, but not really the point. This is a little more of an introductory talk. So I'm going to start with the idea of arrays. There's a couple different ways to define an array, but the simplest is by using an array literal, like this. So by using square brackets, we can create an array, in this case, with 3 items. Now it's important to understand that arrays are zero-based, and each element is accessed using its index. So for example, if we wanted to change the value of the first element in the array, we could write this. Now, we could also visualize this as a table of values. Index 0, 1, and 2. And now, while our array started out like this, the next line would change the value of the first element to 42. Now here we've used a constant to specify the index into the array, but it's also very powerful that you can use variables. For example, in this case, I'll simply define a single index variable, although often what you would be doing instead is using the variable of a for loop or some other kind of loop. But just to give a quick introduction to this, I've defined a variable called index, and now I can use the same square bracket operation. This is called subscript. This is subscripting into the array. And now, because index 1 is item 2, that will alter the second value in the array. Now I'd like to draw a parallel to the way objects can be defined and manipulated in JavaScript. A nice easy way to create an object in JavaScript is by using an object literal, like this. And in this case, I'm just going to start by creating an empty object. Now, what is an object? I should get to that. Objects are variables that hold a set of key value pairs. So for example, if I want to set a key value pair or a property on this object, I could write the following, similar to the way you would index into an array. Now, the keys to objects are always strings. Let's visualize this object as a table. Right now, we've introduced one key value pair, also called a property. Now here, I've used a string constant, but just like with indexes in arrays, I can also use a variable. So I'll create a string variable called key, assign it some value, and now I can use that variable to specify which key I want to set the value for. I should write quotes around here because these are strings. Now, it's important to know that there's another very common syntax used to access properties in objects, and that's the dot operator. If we write object dot key, and to set the value like this, even though key is written without quotations around it, it's still interpreted as a string literal. If we wanted to create the following object in one line of code, we could use the object literal notation to do so, and it would look like this. Notice that again here, even though these are not written in quotations, they're interpreted as string literals. However, if you want to put in a key that can't be written as a string literal without quotation marks, that is also allowed. For example, in this case, we could add a fourth key that looks like this. Notice that this key has a space in it, and that's allowed, but it's not possible to specify using the dot notation. So if you want to access this, you're going to have to use the subscript notation, which would equal 99. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope to see you again. Happy coding!